If I have to say it a million times, I will keep on saying it. This has been the most exciting Jacksonville Jaguars offseason probably since heading into the 2017 season, where the Jaguars obviously had the birth of Saxonville. We went to the AFC Championship game before Miles Jack wasn't down and we got robbed by the referees. Still salty about that, like all of us are. But also, I can probably speak for the entire Jaguars community when I say this. Jaguars football cannot come back soon enough, because 2017 was the last time the Jaguars were relevant, if we're just keeping this honest and real, you guys. But also, we've done some amazing things this offseason, from a brand new coaching staff, being the biggest spenders in NFL free agency in NFL history, having the #1 overall pick for the second consecutive year, projecting what looks to be a great draft class in this 2022 draft class that we just had. Jaguar fans, it brings up the question, will the Jacksonville Jaguars make the playoffs this year? Let's talk about that now. So before we actually get into today's video, if you guys could drop me a like. It takes 1 second and it helps me in the channel out tremendously. And if you guys are new here, consider hitting that subscribe bell to stay tuned for more NBA and, of course, Jacksonville Jaguars content that I do here on YouTube. And make sure you guys go follow me on both Twitter and on Instagram. I'm on there every single day, and I unfortunately hate saying that I'm on there every day, but the links will be in the description down below. Now let's talk about the Jags. Now I'm going to bring up 3 reasons why the Jaguars should make the playoffs this year. The first reason is because of Doug Peterson and the coaching staff from top to bottom. When you move on from Urban Meyer and the rest of that coaching staff, from Darrell Bevell and Joe Cullen, and you improve that to a guy and a Super Bowl winning head coach and a former quarterback in Doug Peterson, to then coordinators like Press Taylor and Mike Caldwell, who I'll talk about in a second, who are unproven. Then you look at other guys like Brenston Buckner, the defensive line coach, quarterbacks coach Mike McCoy. The Jaguars significantly improve their coaching staff from top to bottom. And like I said, with guys like Press Taylor and both Mike Caldwell, both who are unproven, both have their great track record. When you look at Mike Caldwell and the work that he's done with the Tampa Bay Super Bowl winning Buccaneers, the job that he's done being a former linebacker, and the job he did on that defense, from developing guys like Levante David, Devin White, Shaq Barrett, the list goes on. He has a great reputation in the NFL community. Then you look at some of the work that Press Taylor's done. He's obviously worked under Doug Peterson. He was in Indianapolis just for 1 season last year, but he was working under Doug Peterson his entire tenure in Philadelphia, and he had some great success with guys like Jalen Hurts, Carson Wentz prior to him falling off a cliff, and obviously Nick Foles. Then when we also talk about coaching, let's talk about the fact with the most recent example, the Cincinnati Bengals literally went from worst to first last season with one of the worst offensive lines in football. They had a second-year quarterback in Joe Burrow, who obviously missed almost his entire rookie season due to the ACL injury. But Zach Taylor, in his first full season with a healthy Joe Burrow, went 10-7. They won the AFC, and they made a Super Bowl appearance, ultimately falling short of the LA Rams. But it's possible. Jamar Chase was an all-pro wide receiver who proved to be a valuable commodity and one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. They had a great running game in Joe Mixon. They obviously had other weapons like Uzama, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, and obviously on the defensive side of the ball, they had a great defense. The Jaguars had a 14-point lead on them, and they blew it on Thursday Night Football. But the Cincinnati Bengals are just the most recent example of what a great quarterback and a great head coach, especially what Zach Taylor was able to do with a first full healthy season with Joe Burrow. That was something special to watch. Now, the second reason the Jaguars should make the playoffs is because of the weak division that they're in. When you look at the Tennessee Titans, who went 12-5 last year, Mike Vrabel is one of the best head coaches in the NFL, in my opinion. But consistently, Ryan Tannehill and the Tennessee Titans come up short when it matters the most in the postseason. They're a good regular season team, but they did lose a lot of pieces this offseason. They did add Robert Williams, which is going to be a huge upgrade to the wide receiver position, but losing both Julio Jones and A.J. Brown this offseason will definitely hurt them. They still have Derrick Henry, but this Tennessee Titans team still has some holes on the defensive side of the ball, and I'm not too high on them heading into this year outside of looking at the AFC South. You look at the Indianapolis Colts, they did acquire Matty Ice from the Atlanta Falcons. Darius Leonard's one of the best linebackers in the game. Jonathan Taylor's a top 2 back alongside Derrick Henry. Quentin Nelson's one of the best offensive linemen in the game. And Frank Reich is another coach who's going to be on the hot seat this season, where he didn't get Carson Wentz and the Indianapolis Colts into the playoffs last year. The Indianapolis Colts will still be a good team, but I don't think that they're going to be a contender like they expect to be. Then you look at the Houston Texans, who are in the complete opposite direction of both the Indianapolis Colts and the Tennessee Titans. They have a second-year quarterback in Davis Mills coming out of Stanford last year, their third-round pick. And this is going to be Davis Mills' opportunity. Can he be the franchise quarterback for the Houston Texans moving forward? Obviously, he's getting his opportunity, kind of like Gardner Minshew did in 2020, heading into his second year. Can he be the franchise quarterback? The ultimate answer was no. That's why the Jaguars took Mr. Sunshine back there with the #1 overall pick in the 2021 draft. The Houston Texans, the Tennessee Titans, and the Indianapolis Colts, none of these teams are going to be Super Bowl contenders this year, so the Jaguars are in a relatively weak division with probably the worst division in football next to the NFC East. And then the third reason why the Jaguars should be able to make the playoffs this year is because you look at all the ascending talent on the team on both the offensive and defensive side of the ball, on top of the fact that the Jaguars were the biggest spenders in NFL free agency in NFL history this past offseason. The Jaguars in free agency spent $262 million, and 175.3 of that was guaranteed. Like I said, the most dollars spent in NFL free agency in NFL history. On the offensive side of the ball, the Jaguars signed All-Pro guard and Brandon Sheriff, Evan Ingram, Christian Kirk, and Zay Jones. On the defensive side of the ball, they signed Faloranzu Fadakasi, Foyesade Oluwakan, and they signed the best corner coming from the LA Rams, Darius Williams, who's getting a homecoming here in Jacksonville, Florida. Then you look at the ascending talent, and I'm going to be talking about guys heading into their second year for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Obviously, we talk about our franchise quarterback very highly in Trevor Lawrence, who I always call Mr. Sunshine. You look at Travis Etienne, who's fully cleared and healthy, coming off of his Liz Frank injury. I expect big things out of him. Then you move to the defensive side of the ball with guys like Andre Sisco, Tyson Campbell, and a handful of others. I expect big things out of this defense this year, who I've already talked about, I believe will be a top 10 defense this upcoming season, with a mixture of great raw athletic talent that the Jaguars have on that side of the ball, with the veteran leadership that they've acquired on top of the coaching staff. I will link to that video up above. Let me say this before I actually give my verdict, because it seems like you guys know where I'm going with this. Excluding injuries, if the Jaguars get hit with the injury bug this year, knock on wood, there is no excuse for the Jaguars to not make the playoffs this year. We've seen plenty of teams go from worst to first, and anybody who watches football, even though we understand it's a team sport, the two most important aspects of a good football team is the head coach and a quarterback. Everyone knows that. And the Jaguars, from what it looks like, have that. That's still speculation as of right now, but almost everybody believes in Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence. Now my verdict. I do not have the Jaguars making the playoffs this year. I have the Jaguars finishing 8-9, and I know, shocker coming from Brett James. I'm always the superly over-optimistic Jaguars fan, and I don't think that this is me being pessimistic by any stretch of the imagination. I just truly believe that the Jaguars are going to go 8-9 this year. Although we have the 26th ranked toughest schedule in the NFL, which is a pretty damn easy schedule when you look at it in terms of win percentage, the Jaguars do play the AFC West this year, which is going to be the best division in football and has the most competitive division in terms of quarterback play. But also we do play the NFC least this year. So the Jaguars will definitely have their winnable games, but they'll also have their games where they'll struggle. And I think 8-9 is a very realistic expectation and goal for the Jaguars this season. When you look at the Jaguars last year, we won 3 games. I think you can automatically double that with just a better coaching staff from top to bottom, which I've already talked about. That puts us at 6 wins. Then I think the Jaguars are going to be able to get 2 more wins on top of the fact that we're just going to be able to gut out a couple more closer games and actually win some of these games that we weren't able to win last year in some of these close games. So I think 8-9, anywhere from 7 wins to 9 wins is a very realistic expectation for Jaguar fans this year. Plus, what Jaguar fan wouldn't be excited about getting 7 to 8 wins this year, man? I would be ecstatic. I would be jumping through the roof. Man, it would feel like we're just being competitive and we're going out there giving it a dogfight every single week, man. I would be super excited if we got 8 wins this year, man. And look, I'm not saying the Jaguars can't make the playoffs. Like I said, the Jaguars should be able to make the playoffs with everything I just named off this year. But the one thing is, I gotta see to believe it. And that's where I'm at with it. Jaguar fans, I want to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you think that the Jaguars will make the playoffs this year? I obviously have them going 8 wins this year, and I have them just missing out on the wild card. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. And like I said, if you guys are new here, consider hitting that subscribe bell to stay tuned for more NBA and of course Jacksonville Jaguars content that I do here on YouTube. And if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys drop me a like. It takes 1 second and it helps me on the channel out tremendously. And go follow me on my socials. The links will be in the description down below. But that's it for this video. I want to say thank you guys so much for sticking around throughout the entire video. But Brett James, aka BJ, I'm out, y'all. Go Jags, baby. Peace.